great. Love to see that enthusiasm on day 2 after lunch. So it's good. I like it. We're going to try to keep that energy up here throughout the session. All right, so this is the last session for the land and community track. So we're going to be focusing on the social values of agriculture. Just want to put that out there in case, make sure everybody's in the place they want to be. My name is Amanda Littleton. I work with the Cheshire County Conservation District and have the pleasure of getting to work with the good folks that organize Radically Rural, and we're so happy to have you all through this conference to be able to share your ideas, resources, really learn from each other. And I think what we're all most excited about is like taking what we learned home to our communities and implementing it and seeing how are all these new ideas going to integrate into the communities that we work with, into the people, how do we weave these ideas in to the organizations that we work with too. And so I hope that it's front of mind as we have these conversations today in this session. We have some great panelists here to share about their experiences working with agriculture. How the flow of today is going to go this session is we're going to have a few presentations for each of the 3 organizations that are represented here today. We're going to jump into questions. That I have a few prepared as the moderator, and then hopefully we'll have some time for audience questions and then some sharing amongst audience members as well about sort of how you see these ideas and this work happening in your own community potentially and what questions you have about that. Just a little housekeeping. If you need a restroom, you would head out this door in the back where you came in, and then to the left, there are bathrooms over there, and there are some refreshments left on the table on the right side of this room. Well, actually my right side, your left side of the room. Back there if you would like anything like that as well. And then after this, just want to invite everybody to attend the closing session later on at the Colonial as well. So I think that covers all of our housekeeping. And I think we're ready to just jump in. So before we jump into presentations, if we could just maybe do a round of introductions of your names and organizations. Sure.
Hi, I'm Carrie, and I'm representing from the Children's Garden at Green Chimneys.
I'm Lori Domermuth. I also am representing from the Children's Garden at Green Chimneys.
I'm Brett. I'm a representative from Benevolence Farm.
Hi, my name is Sylvain Bukasa, and I live in Manchester, and I'm representing Fresh Start Farm, which is in Dunbarton. So it's like 20 minutes from Manchester.
Great. All right. Brett, you want to kick us off? Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for coming. I'm going to do a brief introduction about Benevolence Farm. I'm the Farm and Enterprise Manager there, and we are located in Graham, North Carolina, which is in Alamance County, a rural county in between Raleigh and Greensboro. So to contextualize, since the inception of the war on drugs, the rate of women's incarceration has risen 800% nationally, and resources for those women have not risen with it. And so that's kind of the context of where Benevolence Farm was grown. So our mission is to cultivate leadership, promote sustainable livelihoods, and reap structural change with individuals impacted by the criminal legal system in North Carolina. And you can see our beautiful farm. That red structure, or the red roof, is the house where our residents live, and then on the other side of that tree line is the farm. And so at Benevolence Farm, we center a few things really intentionally: empathy, second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth chances, harm reduction. We center folks' lived experiences, and obviously racial and gender equity as well. And so you're probably like, what are you talking about? So essentially our founder is a social worker, and she was seeing the challenge that folks leaving incarceration are seeking stable housing and employment. And if they don't have that, then it's really hard to continue to remain in the community. And there's a stigma that comes with a criminal record that makes it really hard to access those things. So one study showed that 50% of job applications were thrown out if a criminal record was disclosed. We've actually had folks have a job successfully for months and management changes or ownership changes, and they do background checks, and despite having no issues at the job, the person is let go just because their criminal record is discovered. Similarly, we see a lot of rental property managers charging excessive application fees just to deny folks. Similarly, they're often expected to show 3 to 4 times the rent, which most folks only have to show like first and last months. And again, often these folks are then getting turned away and losing that application money. So that's kind of where we came in. The program was started to support folks and give them a bunch of resources to make it easier to return home. And so we do that through safe and secure housing. As you saw, folks live on site. And they come home to Benevolence Farm right from prison. Transportation to and from crucial appointments, we'll get into it, but as y'all know, rural areas are hard to navigate without a car. Living wage employment, so folks live and work on the farm and are given a livable wage. Trauma and gender-informed wraparound services, and horticulture and permaculture therapy. And so we are seeing a lot of success with this when we invest in women at Benevolence. We have folks, our alumni have an 85% chance of, or 85% of our residents are still in the community after 2 years, compared to the statewide rate of 60%. Now that is for men and women, the 60%. There is really not a lot of research about women in particular. So again, that tracks with there not being a lot of resources. So when folks arrive at Benevolence, they get about 2 weeks to adjust, go to a ton of onboarding appointments, get set up with their PO, maybe go to the doctor. A lot of folks have not received proper medical care in a while. And then after that, they start working. And so they will work 3 days a week, and this schedule provides structure, but it also provides time to continue to do those really important re-entry appointments during the week, go to court dates, rebuild other areas of their life, and hopefully get a second job if they want. When folks are not working, they do still have access to all 13 acres on the farm, and many have their own garden plots to grow food. So we mostly grow herbs and flowers, which we infuse into body care products and candles. So residents take care of those plants during the workday. They do chicken care. We have some cute chicken friends. They make all the products, so everything's made on site. And we also do ship nationwide, so they pack the orders. So not only do they get paid a living wage, but they also gain a lot of transferable skills that are relevant if they want to go into a field other than agriculture. And so the other benefit of growing herbs and flowers is that it extends our working season because we're able to dry them, and then we can work ideally into the next spring when we're able to harvest again. And we also can have a little bit more value add as opposed to just selling straight crops. And again, there's just more areas for the residents to learn and flex their creative muscles and experiment. And I'm gonna stop there, but if y'all wanna scan that QR code, that brings you to our website, and I'm also happy to answer more questions.
We have time for just 1 or 2 questions now.
I just addressed one question. That's 85% of your clients remain in the community. Does it mean really local to you, or do you mean stay within their communities of choice?
Yeah, just stay out of the prison system. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
Hey, I'm curious what you mean when you say trauma and gender-informed wraparound services.
Yeah, so that looks very different, but that's kind of the point, is that we adjust depending on what each individual resident needs. So some of our folks really don't want to learn to drive, so we accommodate, versus some folks do want to get their license and car as soon as possible. When folks arrive, we give them like a bathrobe so they're not walking around the house in a towel, and some clothes and undergarments. And so again, just like when folks interview to come to the farm, we make sure we know what their favorite color is and what style they like. And yeah, just try and give everyone a personalized fit for the farm.
When you do the wraparound services, do you include things like going to get a driver's license or getting civically involved?
Yeah, so the question was like what else entails in the wraparound services, and really like anything you can think of. So we've helped folks get involved in activism. We've helped folks, actually we have a resident right now who is wanting to get her cosmetology license. So it was very fun. We took a field trip to a nail salon that is like a little bit more inclusive. And so yeah, we are very excited for folks to have their license because transportation is a big area where staff time is used. So it's always fun when people can drive themselves. But yeah, truly like whatever the residents need, we work to support them in whatever way makes sense.
Very sorry. I forgot.
I like it.
Oh, no. That's my son. I told him that I'm here. You're turning off. Oh, that's off.
We can share.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Brett, for sharing all of that with us and being here with us today. Yeah, so we're from Green Chimneys, and Lori's going to start off.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for being with us here today. My name is Lori Damermuth. This is Carrie Toy. We are representing the Children's Garden at Green Chimneys. I am the garden teacher, so my primary focus is teaching the students. We have 208 students enrolled. They range in ages of 5 to 21 years of age. All students have garden class for at least half the year. It's a 12-month program as well. I teach roughly 6 students in a class at a time, and the subject matter is horticulture, agriculture, ecology, and environmental science.
And I am Carrie Toy, and I'm the garden caretaker at Green Chimneys. My focus is tending to all the garden operations, supporting classes, activities, and one-on-ones with some students. We have 30 garden beds, and it's surrounded by perennials like all around the perimeter. So Green Chimneys' mission is a multifaceted nonprofit organization helping young people to maximize their full potential by providing residential, educational, clinical, and recreational services in a safe and supportive environment that nurtures connections with their families, the community, animals, and nature.
This is Dr. Samuel B. Ross. He is our founder. As a child, he attended several boarding schools and felt a deep connection to nature and animals. He dreamt about one day having his own school, and after college, he drafted plans for a boarding school where the kids could be surrounded by nature and animals as well. In 1947, at the age of 19 years old, he found and purchased the property that is now Green Chimneys. It was a farm with green painted chimneys, hence the name. It's located 60 miles north of New York City, and he bought cows, ponies, chickens, geese, goats, ducks, and rescued 2 NYPD horses. Those were the first Green Chimneys rescue. In 1954, he married Myra Ross, and she became a teacher at the school, and she shared his vision. Both shared a philosophy, and in Doctor's own words, this is a quote, "Our children have special needs. They are here because they need alternate approach to education. We've learned that with a little love and attention, it goes a long way towards helping them succeed. When children feel valued, they begin to blossom. Sadly, we lost Dr. Ross in 2017, shortly after Myra Chu, but their legacy lives on.
Green Chimneys has grown from a 75-acre dairy farm to a 500-acre therapeutic day school and residential treatment center. We have 2 campuses. One is located in Brewster, New York, and the other one is located in Carmel, New York. And we also have a vocational farm a little down the road from our Brewster campus. We serve over 80 school districts across New York State and parts of Connecticut, and a lot of this wouldn't be possible without our corporate and private donors. The school was designed for students who have been unsuccessful in traditional educational programs and benefit from smaller, therapeutically supportive settings. The students considered for our program struggle with a variety of behavioral, emotional, and social challenges. The school is made up of half residential students and half day school students that are bused in from their district.
Our nature-based programs include a teaching barn where students interact and care for the animals. We also have a horse barn where they learn horse care, grooming, and horseback riding, and our wildlife center where students can learn falconry and interact with snakes, birds, and lizards. Most students create a bond with one or more animals on campus. All animals at Green Chimneys are donated, rescued, or in the rehabilitation process for reentry into the wild. Rehabilitated birds are usually released, typically coupled with a special event such as a student being discharged. So that's kind of a nice little feature as a send-off when the students go.
So now we'll talk a little bit more about our horticultural programs we have at Green Chimneys. So we have the Bonnie Bell Farm, where some of the older students can go off the campus for a little while and learn more of like the production side of farming. They also can learn about like tools and machinery, and we have beekeeping over there and maple sugaring and a lot of other things. And then we have our Green Chimneys Clearpool campus in Carmel, and they have a small garden. It's kind of a smaller school, but they also have a model forest where they study best practices in forest management and water conservation. This is a partnership with the Watershed Agricultural Council, and it designated Clearpool's model forest as the 4th and 2nd largest model forest established in and around New York City's watershed region. And finally, we have our children's garden, and Lori's gonna describe a little bit how a class is structured in the garden.
So a typical garden class, we will do a 20-minute lesson, and that will be followed by a 20-minute activity. I try my best to keep the garden-related education exciting and engaging for the students. The activities can range from painting signs or fixing equipment to sowing, planting, harvesting, as well as other traditional garden activities and tasks. In winter, our classroom is a greenhouse. Students learn to care for houseplants, and activities are mainly crafts with items that we've harvested over the summer throughout the garden. Each student is very unique at our school, so we really try hard to teach to their strengths. Being a part of the Green Chimneys Garden program also brings many important life skills and lessons. The garden is utilized by students and staff therapeutically. Often, occupational therapists, social workers, and our integrated school support system will bring their students into the garden for their sessions instead of having the traditional floor walls.
Often, as you probably all know, we hear our young people and the students that we have at Green Chimneys express their uncertainty for their future. So unsurprisingly, they're often looking for solutions for gardening to be accessible to themselves and to their family. And so we provide sustainable practices and solutions in that way. So we teach on a small scale, and we often use practices of upcycling and resourcefulness with little to no personal budgets.
So when I first started at Green Chimneys, I was a little intimidated by the other program classes because they all had the animals that the students can bond with, which can be a little overwhelming when you have plants and you're not sure how students are going to respond to that. However, I found out that I do believe there's an inherent desire in all of us to learn a little bit about the plant world. And most of our students, luckily, love plants. And we had things like Spolantes this summer, if you've ever experienced those. It's also called the toothache plant, where it numbs your mouth a little bit. The students really love that.
You drool
Or-
a lot.
You do drool a lot. Or the sensitive plant, where you touch it and then it closes up. So we do try to keep it very engaging with the students, and it does work well. But the most important thing to me that I appreciate about my job is the sensory experience that it provides the students with. From tasting the vegetables to the smell of the flowers and herbs, the sounds of the insects and birds, the texture and the feel of the lamb's ear and sage, to the visual beauty that surrounds them, it often becomes a safe haven for all the students. Many other lessons that the garden provides are practicing mindfulness and patience, connection to the earth and their food, observation and awareness skills, and life and death cycles.
So we like to show the students how all parts of the farm can be connected to the garden and to nature. So from feeding some garden harvest to the animals, or the farm team bringing the animals into the garden to display like different jobs that the animals can do. We have peacocks wandering in, feeding on cabbage worms and helping with pest management. We also have released birds of prey that hang out and kind of stay around the garden and also help us with some pest management. We build butterfly enclosures and grow host plants specifically for butterflies. And some classes bring their classroom-raised monarchs over to the garden to be released. And these are only some of the examples of showing a closeness with nature, and a relationship with the environment can be found in so many different interests.
Okay, before we wrap this up, quick trivia question. Where are majority of the butterfly taste buds found? Feet. So we have a little something for you from our campus. It makes an excellent bookmark too. It's a nice size. It was the feet. Majority of the butterflies' taste buds are on their feet. Okay, so the benefits of the garden are not exclusive to just the students. We have the privilege of watching the students progress and grow. This makes our roles at Green Chimneys really rewarding in ways that you can't describe. In many ways, the students become our teachers, and we are learning lessons from them daily and from the mission of what is Green Chimneys. Thank you very, very much.
And if anybody has any time we have like 1 or 2 questions for them, if anyone has any right now.
Just a quick question about funding. Like, how do these kids afford to go to this school?
There is tuition involved. The district typically will pay for the tuition, but as we mentioned, none of this would be possible. Like, the extra things that we can provide on campus really do come from private donors and corporate sponsors. I know IBM, Goldman Sachs, they've contributed a lot over the years. We've been established for 76 years. So last year we celebrated our 75th anniversary. And the owner also had a beautiful relationship with Paul Newman and helped him start his camp as well. So it's been a very long journey. I'm sure none of this happened overnight. We do have our own fund development department as well.
We also have a couple of events and fundraisers like Birds of Prey Day, and we have a HAI, Human Animal Interaction Conference, as well throughout the year. So we do, and a lot of people from the community also recognize the importance of Green Chimneys in our community, and a lot of people on the street that our school is on have donated their houses to the school. So sometimes we use those houses for the interns program that we have, and then we also have like houses for some students that need to stay there for some reason.
I actually was just going to ask if there were any kind of residency or volunteer or intern programs, so you answered that. And I definitely want to just quit my job right now and come work for you guys.
We are always hiring.
Thank you, guys. Sylvain, are you ready to
Oh, yeah, thank you. So I want to apologize for what my phone did to me. I want to break it right now, but I can't. Yes. Yeah, I've been doing a good job until now. I'm very sorry. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm gonna. All right, thank you very much for just giving me this opportunity, Amanda, and it's just an honor for me to just be here and speak to you guys. It's amazing to be in this kind of gathering. We're talking about agriculture, which is my passion and my hobby and everything I believe in. So, before I start, I want to introduce myself. I am an American citizen. But some of you ask, how come you are an American citizen, but your accent is not like an American? Yes, I am a refugee. I came in America in 2006. Where am I coming from? I came from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Where is Congo? It's in Africa, Central Africa. I know you know when I'm talking about where I was born, you have information about that country. If not, just Google DRC. You'll see. It's a very tough country. And there is some, war going on, civil war, but I believe that one day peace will come. So I leave my country in 2000 because of that conflict. And then I moved to Tanzania as a refugee. And from Tanzania, I got a chance to come to the United States. I know if I ask all of you here, I want to prove something. How many of you have been born here? Good. How many of you came from another country? How many of you, their ancestor came from another country or another continent? I was hoping that everybody gonna raise his hand because America is a country of immigrant. Nobody can deny that. So, you know now where I came from and who I am. I have a son who just called me to embarrass me. So let's go to what brings us here. Let's talk about agriculture, how I get involved in agriculture. It starts way back when I was a child. My grandparents, usually when I was going to visit them with my mother, they will go, like disappear a little bit, and then come back with food. Sweet potatoes and corn. And she will cook it, and then we'll eat. And I was like, where did this come from? And she'll tell me, I just went to the river and bring it. And I was like, oh, what is on the river? And she'll say, oh, I have a little bit of farm over there. And I was like, amazed, but what she was doing, growing. I want to know how she does that. And that's when I start doing some research on agriculture and getting close to agriculture. And when I grow up, I start growing things like flower around my parents' house. And then there was a conflict between us and our neighbor because our neighbor has an avocado tree that's some of the tree stem close to our side. But the owner of that house used to share with us. But someone was renting the house after a while, and then he said, no, you cannot use those avocado anymore. But they're still following in our side. And he said, no, you can't. And we end up cutting that side that was on our side because we want to live in peace. But I got an idea. I said, you can grow avocado. I took those avocado and take the seed of the avocado and make some avocado trees and grow it around our lot. So all our neighbors now, when I'm talking to you, when I talk back home, they enjoy the avocado. This is the miracle of agriculture. So let me talk about now. So now I get in this program. When I get to America, there was that culture shock, and I came from a rural area, was a rural city area. And when I got here, I was stuck in my apartment. I'm going to work, go back home in my apartment. And I was like, what am I doing? I got to do something. When I was in Tanzania, because it's the same situation, when you are in a refugee camp, you cannot work. There is work for few people who work with those organizations who take care of the refugees, but not all of us. So what I did is I walk around and I see some refugees like my grandma, they were bringing food to the market. And I was like, I'm going to follow them. I followed them, and I found out that there were lands around the refugee camp where you can grow food. But all the land was owned by people who were there before us. So I go and talk to one of them, and he said, yeah, I can give you a little bit of land. You can grow something. And he gave me that little land, and I started growing something, vegetable, amaranth, tomato, and different things. And I was bringing it home. And everybody was like, oh, what kind of a refugee? What are you doing? Did you come to sit here, or you are going to America? Because all the refugees was dreaming to come here. And I say, yes, but meanwhile, should I starve because I'm waiting to go somewhere? So I gotta do something. I start growing food for myself. And then those who are kind of making fun of me, they start asking me for help. Can I have this? Can I have that? And then I was sharing with them. So here, the same thing happened. And then one day, when I was home with my wife, someone that was in the Congolese community, came, and she started talking to my wife about this program, about agriculture. And when I heard that, and I told her, what are you talking about? She said, oh, this is this program, this non-profit organization called ORIS. It's a non-profit organization for refugee and immigrant success. They want to recruit some, people who want to do agriculture and, just to add some food to yourself. And I was like, you talking to the wrong person. My wife never grow anything. You should talk to me. So we start talking, and then that's how I get involved in that program. And the program was called NASAP. NASAP is a New American Sustainable Agriculture program. So I get involved, and we start in 2011. That's when we start that farm in Dunbarton. And how we get that farm in Dunbarton, there was a family, the Stone family. They provide their land because it was a corn land. They didn't want to do it again, but they have to use the land. According to the government, if you don't use the land, there is some fees you pay, right? But if you make someone else use the land, then you can have some profit from that. So they give us the land. We start growing food since 2011. And it's a group of now 20 farmers. We are growing vegetable. Most of the vegetables that you know, from arugula to zucchini. And some fruits, not much, but right now at that farm in Dunbarton, we have electricity that we didn't have before. We have water. We dig a well that we didn't have before. And at the same plant, now we have a solar, like solar farm. We give a little bit of land to a company that's, plant some solar panel. So we have electricity, and we're contributing to the electricity line to improve the use of electricity, so have more electricity for those who need it. And that helps us to reduce our bills on electricity. So, and that program grew, and now we are in Concord at the Sample School. We have a land over there, they provided land, and we are now in Bosquen. Last year, we started another program in Bosquen. And we are trying to go as far as we can, start those programs so that everybody can have a chance to have a place to grow food. And we have many challenges. Like, we need farm to do all those works. We need machinery, tractor, and mostly we need land because, as you know, you cannot grow anything until you have land. No land, no agriculture. I know some people say, oh, you're going to grow in pots. How much you're going to grow in pots to feed millions of people? So you need land. We need a lot of land. Even if now we have this technology where you can grow food inside a room, you need more space. And to build more space, you need land. So everything goes back to the land. So land is what we need the most. That's why I want to thank Amanda for the work she's doing on preserving lands and helping people to have access to land. I think that's what I have to introduce you to what we do. And if you have any question, I'm here. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? We have time for one or two before we get into the rest of the program. Oh, right behind me. There you go.
Sylvana, thank you so much. That was really awesome. I'm curious what your process is to find new land and acquire the land for your work.
So what we do is, as you know, we don't know much as a new American, the process to get land. So we work with non-profit organizations, like the organization that provide land to new farmers. And especially through ORIS, that organization go around cities, states, and they talk to those people who have land and those who want to help new Americans to have access on land. Yeah, that's how we do. No problem.
Any other questions at this point? I see a couple back here.
I'm just curious, in a project I was involved with in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we worked with like introducing like Eritrean food to the larger population in El Salvador, and just things that weren't necessarily grown in Southeast Louisiana. I didn't know if you've had the opportunity to try to introduce things that maybe you grew in Congo or other of your colleagues grew in their countries, and try to introduce those not only as a way to kind of diversify the farm production, but also to create more of an abundance for immigrants who are already there, who you're working with, or in the larger community.
I think that speaking to be honest, I don't work for ORIS, or I'm not a staff with ORIS, but I work with ORIS. So I don't have all the details about that because my passion is farming. but I'm not in that area of make those connections, all those things. I focus on producing the food for my community because it's important to me and to my community. And every time we need, to expand or we talk to the ORI staff, and they know what we need, and then they work with all those organizations to get where we need. Thank you.
So I'm actually a big fan of Fresh Start Farms. I brought a group of teenagers there to volunteer. That was part of a leadership program. And boy, when teenagers have to grow and pick and work in the field, they appreciate their food a lot more, I have to say. But there's a really great book, and I just wondered if you could comment on this about, obviously you're growing food for your own, your own benefit and the benefit of the farmers, but there's other benefits as well as a person who's new to a country and is coming with probably some trauma, to have that connection to the land and to feel like they're connecting to their new land in a way. So I wondered if you could comment on that and the other benefits besides the food.
I think the big benefit is to bring the community together. Because I remember there is people, even if we came from the same country, but we didn't have any connection. But when they heard that I am growing food that they used to eat back home, they start connecting with me. They start calling me. I receive calls from other states, and people said, "How did you do to grow that?" I said, "Yeah, I learn and I adapt." You know that you can grow anything in America. That's sometimes people think that's impossible to grow here. You can. You have to learn and when to grow it. Sometimes it takes a little bit. The space is so short because of the change of the weather, but you still can. And here there is those greenhouses now. I went to Canada to the garden. It was a botanic garden of Canada. I saw sugar cane inside that. I was amazed. I saw papaya. I was like, how come you grow papaya? Yeah. So it's just, the technology is there. And that can help us to connect with, people. And even people didn't like to go back to agriculture because they see what we're doing. They want to come back and grow because someone was like, oh, why should I grow? Why should I go to the farming? I came to America not to farm. I came to America to enjoy life. I was like, yes, but I'm enjoying life farming.
Well, thank you all so much for those presentations to set the stage and give us all an idea of where you're coming from. Yeah. And so you are all using agriculture to serve different populations, but it seemed like to me there are some themes throughout this with all of the populations that you're serving have uncertainty for their future, questions about what's going to be happening with them. And I love that you all touched on how you go out of your way to meet their individual needs, whatever those may be for those populations, and you value them. And the combination of sort of those meeting people with where they are, providing them with the understanding that they are valued, helping them thrive. So thank you all so much for the work that you're doing. Would love to just start out with a few more questions before we jump into more of the audience sharing. Could you share a story with us on how this work has had a positive impact on an individual that you work with? That kind of helps us demonstrate why you're so committed to this work and this mission.
So there's one student that sticks out to me hearing that question, and he had an immediate connection to plants as soon as his awareness was brought to them. So that's why I think the garden program is so cool in the school, because a lot of kids haven't had the opportunity to be that close with plants before. And a lot of our students get bussed in from the city sometime. So this student particularly got really into plants, and he doesn't have a secure home, so he's a permanent resident on our school. So we were able to help him feel like he could bring plants back to his dorm and make that feel like home for him. And he's just grown a lot over the last 2 years. Me and Lori has worked closely with him, and he has now come to a point where he wants to be an apprentice for the garden. We have an apprenticeship program. And he's also, we just found out, in the process of possibly getting adopted by a woman who is also in the process of buying a house in New Jersey, and she is a chef. So his love for gardening and her love for cooking is just going to be like the most beautiful pair.
We have a student also that's very new to campus, and he's struggling more than I've seen most students struggle adapting to the new environment and the programs. However, he is his best self in the garden. He wants to learn. He's a fast learner. You show him something once, he gets it. He remembers Latin names of plants when most people can't even remember the common names. And the garden has empowered him, and it's given him a sense of confidence. He now, I can say to him, he'll say, "Can I do this?" And I'll be like, or another students will ask me if they can do something, and I'll say, "Why don't you go show them how to do it?" So he's actually taking the knowledge that he's learning and sharing that with the other students. And one of the problems that he's having is with his peers currently. So it's really also helping him build healthy relationships.
It's really cool to talk to the residents and hear about how they're impacted. But one person in particular came on about a year ago as a resident, and her number one goal is to be reunited with her kids. And I have never seen someone like figure out how to apply for a SNAP and get all her ducks in a row so quick. And she moved to our secondary house, which does not have as many services and is more just to support folks getting housing. She got a second job, and now she is a staff member, and she is supporting other folks, and actually is now starting her own support group to support mothers in particular, and is now like doing all this amazing family reunification. She is reunited with her kids, and I got to see that, and it's very emotional, just as emotional as it looks on like the internet when you see it. And so, yeah, it's very cool in general to see the residents thrive, but it's awesome to now be coworkers with someone that I met as a resident.
So, why I'm gonna use this word, in love with agriculture. It's because I see a lot of good coming out of it. It's, first of all, it's for myself. I can provide good, safe food to my family. And it just brings joy when you eat food that you grow yourself. And then, my customers. I didn't say how we sell our food, so we have many programs to sell our food. We have CSA programs, we have farmers market programs, we have farm stand programs. And I have another job, so I couldn't go to the farmers market, so I was doing my farm stand. And I was working in this program with Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital to help people to have the habit of eating good food, especially vegetables. So I saw the joy that those people were having when they come to me buy those foods. And I have two kind of customer. I have the American customers, and I have the Congolese or African customers. So on one side, I contribute to the society to feed people who cannot grow food, because everybody doesn't have the opportunity to grow food. So we are responsible to provide to those people the kind of food they need. And the other side, the African community, they don't eat, my wife doesn't eat raw vegetables. She said, no, I cannot eat that. And I say, it's good, it's healthy to eat lettuce. I eat raw vegetable. Even at the farm, I eat them. Some of them, it's not safe. I say, don't worry. I am immune to that. I eat them. And I say, okay, so let's provide people who cannot eat raw food with cooking vegetables. That's when I introduce some vegetable that I used to grow home, like amaranth, sour, and those food. This is amazing. I remember one of my customer. She told me, this is the first time I eat this vegetable since I left home. And I was like, really? And she said, yes. I was like, yeah, I enjoy it for almost 20 years now. And she said, and that joy, this smile, that's when you give them the food. And there is something that I want to mention to you. When I was doing CSA market with American understand that, but my fellow African didn't understand that. To pay you before they get the food? No, you have to give me the food and then I pay you. I told them, no, it doesn't work that way. You have to assure me that when I bring my food, you will take it, and there is no discussion between us, oh, pay me, or I'll pay you later. That's what happened in Africa. Okay, I'll pay you later, and then it become a conflict. So I explained them, and what I did is I said, if you pay me at the front, I'll provide you more food than the same amount of money if you want to spend it in the market. And some of them understood that, and then that's what we're doing. And right now, it was Tuesday, I went to one of my customers to give her a share, and she told me, I can't because my freezer is full. There is no more space to put food. Just don't give to someone else. This is what excites me. This is why I am so in it. And then I want to do that because people now are sure that they can have food for the whole winter that they could not have before. Yes.
To a little bit about the specific challenges that you face about doing this work in a rural community, and how you've worked with partners and others to overcome those challenges.
Should I go first? Okay. So we struggled with this answer a little bit because our community is really just within the school. It seems very closed off, and then by saying that, I kind of found the answer in there, where it's really the problem we have of getting the word out to our outside community of knowing what our school is. And a lot of people, I mean, even growing up, I grew up with that school in my neighborhood, and I had a very different impression of what the school was. And I think that is kind of what we struggle with a little bit. And then outside of the school, I think in our rural community in general, we have a lot of issues with diversification, healthy, affordable food, culturally appropriate food, transportation and in a public sense, and informational barriers.
Yeah, transportation is huge. The farm is about a mile from the closest gas station and then like 5 miles, I think, to the closest grocery store. And so it's a lot of staff time driving folks, and obviously we're happy to do it, but we also have folks with court dates like across the state. And so, yeah, transportation is very tough. We're lucky to have volunteers and staff. And also we work with with a organization that helps get folks an affordable car a little bit quicker than just the luck of looking on Facebook. I think also there's a lot of benefits to being rural, but small towns, and there definitely was some stigma when we started, and there was also a long time before the program actually got off the ground because of fundraising, and just trying to get funding to make things work. And the last challenge we face is with our residents of color, there's a lot of stigma around farming. Our county is not necessarily where folks of color want to return to after being incarcerated. And so we on the farm try and cultivate a really open and welcome space, but we definitely have heard pushback from folks that were like, I wanted to do this program, but being in this community didn't feel safe for me. And yeah, that is something we're always trying to work on.
Okay. So, for my group, the biggest challenge is language barrier. Because most of them, I was very lucky because I went to school and then I was preparing myself because I knew that I'm gonna come to America, so I was learning English. Someone told me that if you don't speak in America English, you'll be in a very strange place. So I was prepared for that, and thank God, French and English are like cousins. So language barrier. Most of them they don't speak all the language done. For example, for people who come from Somalia, they speak Somali. People who come from Burundi, they speak Kirundi. Others speak in Rwanda, and a little bit to speak Swahili, because I speak Swahili, I speak French, English, and a little bit of Kirundi and Kinyarwanda, because when I was in the camp, I was living with those people. So it was easy for me, and now I am kind of, every time someone they come to me, oh, Sylvan, can you help me with this? So I kind of doing that job. That's a big challenge. And another challenge is land accessibility. Thank to the Stone family, because they didn't want to sell the land to the developer. They didn't want, and we had a very big fight with the community in Dunbarton. So, yeah, it was very tough. But what we did is we showed them the importance of the work we were doing. So, personally, I started going to the neighbor and trying to convince them to be my customer. And I only got one. So I was going to my neighbor, drop food. Even if she's not there, I'll drop food, and then she will come. And I remember one day she came with her children, because no neighbor never come to the farm. But I remember that day she came with her children, and I knew that she wanna see where her food were coming from. So land is a big challenge, and we own that land. It's 50-acre land, but we only use 7 acres. And another challenge is we don't have machinery. That's a big challenge. You know, tractor costs a lot of money. And another challenge will be, that's my next project, is seed saving. So I want to learn that. I save seeds, the one I can, like easy ones, like amaranth. They grow like weed, and then it's easy to save them. But there is some seed that it's not easy, like sawa. Those are crops that takes long time to produce seeds. And right now, I can, I can see how those plants are dying. They start changing, and then in few days, when the frost hits, they will be done because they don't tolerate the cold. So I cannot have those seeds. What I do, I have to call my brothers or cousin back home to send me those seeds, which is not easy to get here sometimes. So seed saving is one of our big challenges. So yeah, thank you.
I'm wondering, I imagine community partnerships are probably really critical for the success of your work. And I'm just wondering if you have any partnerships with other organizations that you'd like to share about that you think would be informative for this community.
So, being, is that, do I have to hit something? No. Oh, sorry about that. So being that we have been established for a really long time, the financial component, I don't really want to touch on, but I do want to really give a moment to appreciate our volunteer program, our intern program. We have people that come to the farm regularly and will help out in areas because it is a huge undertaking, our farm, with the 4 different areas and all the things that need to get done in a day. So I really would love to take a moment to thank those volunteers. Also, we have volunteer groups that come in. So Pepsi will have a group of people that comes in and help support any big projects that we have to do. Currently, we're changing the borders around all the bedding or all the beds, and it's a big undertaking.
Can't do it myself.
So it is very, the time that people take to just come in unpaid, and that we do ask a lot sometimes. That is definitely something we couldn't do without the volunteers. And we do have an intern program. Typically, last year we had an intern from Greece, this year Massachusetts, and they help out tremendously with the students and the work that needs to be done around the garden. So those are the people I would like to mention here.
I think another group of people that I would add, based on the last question about our challenge with getting the word out with what we do at Green Chimneys, our farm is open to the public on the weekends, so we just have visitors come through and say hi to the animals and stuff. So I think they help a lot with truthfully explaining to other people in their communities what we do there.
Yeah, like local nonprofits are awesome. Volunteers are amazing. We definitely try and utilize what when people come to us and say they want to get involved, we figure out a way to fit them in. So the flexibility has been huge. We have a college nearby, and so we are really lucky to get students from there that want to come intern and help out. And then we work with the Women's Resource Center, and they have been huge. But yeah, we utilize like Facebook and different social media platforms to have calls to action when we need specific asks. And then again, like we had someone who wanted to volunteer her time to teach yoga, so we did that. And similarly, like there's factories in the area that or other businesses that come to us and say, we want to be fair chance hirers. And so we connect residents that would be a good fit when they're ready to move on with them. And so, yeah, the biggest partnerships are the ones that folks come to us and want to collaborate, which has been really cool to see creative solutions.
Yes, our biggest partners are our customer, because we cannot do what we do without our customers. So they help us, buying our produce, help us to keep up with the work. and mostly is other nonprofit organizations. We work with many nonprofit organizations, and sometimes we have donors like banks. TD Bank help a little bit. I remember when we were raising money to buy the land, TD Bank, got in the game, and then they help us. But mostly it's nonprofit organization and people who want to just help, people who do agriculture. So we have a good, chunk of partners, but mostly and I cannot forget the government is our big partner, because we receive not us directly, but ORIS receive a lot of grant from the government to help staff, to help us to do what we do. Because, as I said, most of the farmers are not educated. So even to write, some of the work that need to be done by, writing, things like that, or send email, things like that, pay bills. So we have staff who help the group to do those kind of things. So without the grant from the government, we could not do that. It will be impossible. So the government is a big partner. So that's why we say thank you for the USDA and all those government programs that help farmers.
I think one of the next things that we want to do is start to talk about what's happening in your minds, in the audience, about how you see agriculture playing with some of these social values that we've heard about today. How can it serve different populations in your community, and whether it's something that is going to be brand new in your community that you see an opportunity for, or it's something that's started, but maybe you see new partnerships or ideas to dive deeper into. We'd love to start to have that conversation in a minute, but sort of giving you that time to think for a moment so you're not feeling put on the spot as the audience. We'd love to sort of end our Q&A up here with a question about what advice you would have for community members who are just getting started exploring this work of using agriculture to help different populations, or people who've been at it for a little while. Just what would you share as some words of wisdom?
Well, I graduated with an accounting degree. So that'll tell you something. I'm in a lot of debt now. So it was a huge process and a mourning process to understand that while also not wanting to do it anymore. And it felt like a big waste of time, but now I don't feel that way. And I started off really small. I was like, I am not going back to school again. That's the last thing I'm going to do. I don't need more debt. So I started small, and I started in a nursery, and then I did a lot of farm work, and now I'm here. So you don't need a degree. I do have trouble, though, finding more jobs, especially in conservation, because a lot of those are like environmental science degrees, and that I've had trouble with that, and I just wish that more people would understand that not everyone has the opportunity to go to school, and some people had to decide when they were a child what they wanted to do for the rest of their life, and it just doesn't make any sense.
The one thing that I think is most important is to never lose sight of the mission and the work that you're doing, the positive impact that you're going to have, and to find and celebrate those small little glorious moments. Because there are a lot of hard moments in a day, but if you actually counted them up, there's so many more wins than losses. And it's very important to find silver linings and really see the positive changes, and to take back a step back and just see the growth and the change that you're creating.
Yeah, I think I've said this already, but like connections and figuring out what problems you want to work on solving and what assets you have in your community and yourself, and then like meeting in the middle. And I think also, I mean, there are so many things that come up in any work, in any direct service, that you're going to be unprepared for, and I'm sure you all have had that experience. And yeah, just like riding the wave. We had a resident who requested pet reunification, and so we had a dog on the farm for a while, and we're able to find a short-term foster, or I'm sorry, a long-term foster while she got her housing set up. But yeah, so just like working with folks in the community and figuring out what next steps are, and like you said, there's no direct path, and the journey is what is going to lead to some of the best parts. So yeah, just taking it day by day. Oh, and sorry, one more thing is like listening. I'm sorry. Because yeah, like I don't think we would be where we're at if we didn't hear from our residents what needed to be improved, and learning from our mistakes, and yeah, being humble. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think that's what I can give as an advice is get involved. Okay? And as I said, not everyone can be a farmer, but you can be a customer. Everyone eats fresh food, like to eat fresh food. And especially everyone needs to eat local food. Because the food that comes from California is not safe. Okay, and young people, don't be afraid. It's fun to farm. Bring your new idea. Bring the new technology to the farming business now, so that you can be in your, your space, you enjoy. If you can bring new machinery that will do everything for you, just bring it. But I like to use my hands. We need to involve youth in farming. I remember I used to receive students at the farm. They would be amazed. Oh, this, and what is funny is sometimes they will be walking on your vegetable. I was like, these are vegetable. It's not weed. You gotta be careful. They don't know, so we need to teach them so that they can know, to reconnect them. I remember when I was young, I was connected with the agriculture and the land. So, and from yesterday until today, when they're talking about rural, they said young people are leaving rural to the big cities. Why? Because they are not connected to the land. I'll tell you today that I love the land I have, even if I don't own it 100%, but I own it because nobody can take it away from me. And I have to decide to leave it, but I'm not leaving it because I am connected to that land. So that's why I will stay there, and that's why I want everybody to just be connected to the land, and especially young people, because as you know, we grow up and then we get weaker and weaker. We need another generation to replace us. That's why I thank God, because my son, who didn't like farming, he hated it, but now he's coming back to me, but in another kind of way, because he saw me not being very successful, but I'm doing better than him. Yes. He got a good job. He's self-employed. He's building, fixing kitchen, and all that. But when I tell him my story with farming, he said, "Dad, you better off. I should learn from you." And I was like, "What? You didn't like to help me farming, but now my son is helping me." And lately, when there was a big wind in Manchester, I have two not greenhouse but hoop house. and one of them, the plastic was ripped off. And that day, my son came to visit, and I told him, I said, Dad, we gotta go there, I'll fix it for you. And he came and fixed it for me.
Thank you all for that good advice. I think we want to use our last 15 minutes for a little moment for you guys to sort of think about the question and challenge you, the question of what are the ways in your own communities that you could see agriculture being of service to your community to help with a given population that you have in mind, and just ask you to take a minute to think about it, and then find a partner that you're sitting next to, share your thoughts on it, and then we'd love to hear some highlights from that in the next 10 minutes or so. So thinking about how can agriculture serve your community, what challenges may it help with in your rural community that you've been thinking about over this past couple days, really focused on rural challenges, and then hear maybe what ideas you have. All right, so go for it. opportunity to ask additional questions of our panelists is another option too. So anybody want to share a highlight of what they're excited about looking at the social values of agriculture in their communities? Yes.
I'm Isaac, I'm from Montana, and we just talked a little bit about how sort of a more flamboyant form of agriculture, and my specific was rodeo, which isn't, the actual production of raising, but it's something that brings people together, and in a relatively young country like the US, it's a big tradition that regardless of your background, like in Montana, that it's a very white state, but there's also a lot of Native people, and that, combines two cultures that are often at odds with each other too. And so there's a lot of social value in that exchange for sure. And then I also had a question. You are very in favor of young people getting involved in agriculture, but do you have advice specifically for young people that don't have parents in agriculture for getting involved?
I think that if we talk to them and talk to them and make them know the importance of agriculture, and then make them know that the future is in their hands, and that's the way to get them easily involved in the agriculture. And the value, there is a big value in agriculture. It's hard work, but it pays off. And I know people are, just an example, in countries like Liberia or Ivory Coast or even Rwanda, a very small country, there is young millionaire because of agriculture. But it's not like they have to do it themselves. They need the government, parents, to get them involved, to help them, to introduce them to agriculture. And then when they are very in it, and then you see how great they can do. Yeah.
I can add to that as well. After you get them interested, there are a lot of conservation corps and farms. Last year I worked with Vermont Youth Conservation Corps, and we had crews of late middle school, high school students working there and making money there.
Yeah, that's me. Like, my parents are not, my mom is always like, oh my gosh, how do you know that? I'll be like, that's zucchini. And she's like, what? How do you know that? No, just kidding. But yeah, like, I did AmeriCorps and like worked on a farm in high school. And I don't know if like you're talking about yourself or trying to rope other folks in, but like, yeah, you don't have to own land to farm. Like you were saying, like there's tons of farms that hire like seasonal workers and just like, yeah. Also in advertising, I'm always like, and you don't just sit at a desk and you get to be outside all day. And so, yeah, there are lots of Young Farmers Coalition is like a nonprofit group that does a lot of policy advocacy around like grants to support young and beginner farmers. And so they probably have resources too.
Okay, so we're from Nashua, which we were like, yay, Manchester. A couple of things. How can public media better serve all of the great work that's happening in here? Because I do work for New Hampshire PBS, and PBS, your local PBS station has funding a lot of the times for some of these programs, and they would love to highlight in some way, shape, or form some of the wonderful work that's happening. Also, we were just talking about, because we also volunteer at a community center in Nashua, and just a way to get youth involved is we're finding leadership programs for young women are a great way to kind of get and we were just talking about potentially having some time where we could reintroduce them to connecting back to their land, those cultural roots, because we're specifically Latinas, and so, we talk about how a lot of our children are being raised here in America, and what we recognize is that we might have connection to the land because of the way we were raised, but our children might not, and so just understanding that reintroduction to connection to the land and the food that you eat is really important.
If I may, we didn't mention the media. The media play a big role in helping agriculture. I'll give you an example that the Secretary of Agriculture came to visit us in Manchester. So, a big guy like that from Washington, D.C., when he comes with the media. And I was on the front page of the next day newspaper. And I went to work that day. I was like, hey, I didn't know that. And he was, hey, you are famous. I was like, what? What did I do? And then they showed me the newspaper. And I was there, and I was like, what? And then everybody in my community are talking up. Some of them ignored me. They didn't even talk about me, about what I do. But when they saw me on the newspaper, they said, you are famous. What are you doing? How you do it? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to the farm, and then people get involved, and then they make me famous. Yeah.
Such a big role of putting a spotlight on what's happening. Yeah, there's a lot to be done.
This isn't a project that I was involved with, but I heard about in the Upper Valley here, there's an organization called Vital Communities that works in Vermont and New Hampshire's, and they got a USDA grant to do this cool project called the Climate Farmer Project. And so they had people go, illustrators, hired local illustrators to go out to the farms, make art of the farms. They collected stories about how climate change was impacting their farm and what the farms were doing, about and in response to climate change. And so out of that came an art exhibit that's traveling around. The farms also, there was also money in the grant for the farms to use for marketing. So they get to use the art for their marketing and get some money to do website development. And then there was a third piece about building community and sharing best practices among the farmers. And so they basically pulled some of the farmers, said, stop working, come visit this other farm in the evening, and learn about what each other was doing so that they could share information and build community. And anyway, I just thought it was a great one project that touched so many different things and made so many different connections. So
thank you. All right, we're coming to the end of our time, but I was wondering if anybody else wanted to share some excitement or highlight about the social values of agriculture that they were talking about.
It's not my current community, but in Baton Rouge, I started a project that was trying to link the need to solve the food desert issues in an African-American community on the edge of the LSU campus with also what could we do for rural communities to try to help farmers who are struggling on the margins. And so created an effort that created market opportunities, primarily through farmers markets, community gardens in the African-American community, and the opportunity to sell at the markets. But the great thing about it was kind of intentional, brought all kinds of different people together through farmers markets, which was held in downtown Baton Rouge, which was considered an incredibly racially divided community, neither black nor white. It was just vacant. And so it was actually probably the one space in the community where you could bring black and white communities together. And so not only to create opportunities to help solve the food desert issues, but also for farmers who are struggling with, if you know the big ag or ag in the middle, these marginal 2,000 acre soybean operations going to 19 acre fresh market vegetable operations, and then being able to have a lifestyle that they could actually farm and not stress over the debt and everything else. It worked. It's celebrating this 26th anniversary this year. But one of the things that made it different, but where I'm going with this is there are opportunities, I think, to connect rural with urban and use agriculture as part of like downtown revitalization and vice versa. And it's more than just creating a farmer's market. Part of what made this intent work was there was an intentionality of actually helping everybody involved with the technical assistance and how to produce for those markets. Now, this was at the beginning of like the farmer's market revitalization period. Now, I think there's almost like too much of a demand for farmers markets, and those aren't necessarily easy for farmers to participate in. But think about tying into these other, like the rural revitalization, urban revitalization, because historically, right, farms existed in part because cities existed, and there was this inherent link. And so trying to restore that link to the extent you can, and you can use it to bring people back together.
So much, Chris. Well, our time is up. I just would like to ask you to join me in thanking our panelists one more time. And thank you all for joining us and sharing your thoughts today. Please do attend the rest of Radically Rural. The closing will be happening at the Colonial Theater at 4 p.m.